And here's tonight's program. Maybe you got a glimpse. It's also in the program description. And what a beautiful day. It's just sunny. It was a gorgeous day. I'm in this beautiful coastal town south of San Francisco, Half Moon Bay. I've resided here for over 30 years. And I'm at the harbor. I'm broadcasting from the Half Moon Bay Distillery. And for those of you who have been here before and my Facebook Lives, this is like my 9th or 10th. I started March 28th, so this might be my 10th Facebook Live. Thank you for spending your time with me on Saturday nights. There's no place I'd rather be than at my piano sharing my music with you. And tonight is a night of all transcriptions. I'm going to do things a little differently. I'm going to just go ahead and start with the music. And the first one is actually, and then I'll do my reading a little bit later. The first one is actually a transcription of a very famous Vivaldi Four Seasons Spring for violin plus orchestra, arranged by me. My first left-hand only arrangement, arranged by Ma for left-hand only, going into another Bach piece for flute, arranged by Wittgenstein for left-hand only. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'll say hi as more people join in. And thanks for posting where you're listening from. You're free to welcome. You're welcome to post any comments of how you're feeling, how this music makes you feel. I'm starting with two gorgeous melodies, two of the most beautiful melodies ever written, to really get us to, if you could use some stress relief right now, maybe give me a heart, a floating emoji heart, or a thumbs up, because the first two pieces are very calming, very soothing, and then I go into more dynamic music. So if you could use some stress relief through music, thanks for posting a heart there. Gina, you ready? You're ready. Okay. Actually, before I start, if you could, Mom, Trudy Spector's on great. If someone could give me also a floating heart emoji, how's the sound? I'm guessing it's pretty good. I think I got this down now. And Scott's listening probably from Syracuse, I think, my hometown. Great. Okay. So the two Bach arrangements. Sorry, the Vivaldi and then the Bach arrangements. Good girl. Thank you. For those of you who have been here before or been to other concerts on Facebook Live, you know we use floating emojis for hearts, for thumbs up, for in replace of applause. And thank you for that. They're always very appreciated while I'm in this room that feels like I'm alone with my dog, but many of you out there, so I so appreciate the applause. So that was a transcription of a flute piece. We have a couple flutists, whatever you call yourselves, on, Lori and Scott, and maybe you both played that as well. And thank you so much. It's one of my favorites. So a transcription is basically, thanks for all the hearts. A transcription is basically, first of all, it's very fun for a pianist because I play one instrument, it's piano. I used to play clarinet in school decades ago. I haven't touched it in a long time. But piano's my only instrument. So transcriptions is a way for me to play these gorgeous melodies written for other instruments. The last one for flute and the next one for violin. So Bach wrote the chaconne for violin. I don't play violin. Many violinists say it's like one of the most demanding pieces ever written for violin. And since a transcription is a piece that can either be for one instrument and then another composer comes along later and transcribes it either for another instrument in this case, or later on I'm going to demonstrate pieces that were written for piano and then transcribed for a different purpose for piano, and I'll talk about that when I get there. But in this case, I'm such a romantic pianist. I love the works of Brahms and Chopin and Rachmaninoff and Schumann. And when Brahms wrote this chaconne, he wrote it for Clara Schumann, who's also in the 1800s was one of the most famous concert pianists to live. She was also a wonderful composer, and she was married to, of course, a very famous composer, Robert Schumann, who was Brahms's composition instructor. So there's apparently many of you, give me a thumbs up if you know this, or a floating emoji, that, this love story between Brahms and Clara Schumann that was, we don't know the details. Was it a friendship? We don't know. But there was definitely a love interest. So she was off performing, and with 7 children at home, she'd tour, and touring wasn't so easy back then. She would tour all over Europe and perform, and she actually got tendinitis in her right arm. So Brahms wrote the chaconne for one hand only, for her left hand only, for her to play, which she did. So sorry she had a tendinitis, but it was short-lived, and glad he wrote this for her. When I injured my right hand, it's my dominant hand, but I was so grateful that it actually was my right hand, not my left, because 99.9% of the music that's written for one hand alone for piano is for left hand. There are several reasons for that. One is because Paul Wittgenstein, who was the rearranger of the last piece, lost his right arm in World War I. And one of the first big compositions for left hand only was written for him. It was the Ravel Piano Concerto. And then Wittgenstein rearranged a lot of music for left hand only. And also, when pianists tend to get injured, they tend to injure their right hand because it's just a little more taxing on the hand. And and you need a bass. So the left hand only provides all this. This is a piece that's pretty much middle of the register and lower, and it requires a really large left hand, which I have, fortunately. It's one of my favorite pieces. I've played it here before. I'm recording it this week, the Bach chaconne, and rearranged by Brahms for left hand. It's the longest piece in the program, so sit back, enjoy while you're at home, make yourself comfortable, and it's about a 12-minute composition. Everything else is short, and just see if you can hear that opening melody that keeps coming back over and over. And the melody is, as in most left-hand music, is almost completely in the thumb. And you're also welcome to write in the comments anything you're feeling, any emotions that come up while you're listening to this or after you're done listening to it. Thank you. I need to check something. Concerned. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the hearts. And I love that piece. I never tire of it. It's just, I'm teary when I think of, I didn't know this piece. I didn't know this arrangement of the Bach chaconne. Thanks for the hearts. I didn't know it until I broke my right hand. Until I was recovering, I think, from between surgery number 2 and number 3, I discovered Leon Fleischer's recording of it. And the famous transcription of the Bach chaconne, which everyone played at Juilliard, is the Busoni for 2 hands. So I didn't know this, and it's turned into one of my favorite pieces for whether it's for 2 hands or 1 hand. And thanks for allowing me to share that again. And so that was the biggest piece in the program. There are places in that are so taxing on my right hand that, on my left hand, that I don't really ever practice them. It's just such a big reach. So I enjoy even more playing it in public, because then I get to play the whole thing. And I'm just going to take a look what's going on here. Okay. And so now going into shorter transcriptions, but before I do that, I'm going to do my readings. So the reason we call this, someone says microphone, and I'm assuming everyone hears okay. So if you can hear me okay, if you can post a thumbs up or a floating emoji, I'll move this a tiny bit closer, and that might help a little bit. And so let me know how the sound is. This is about as close as I can get with my voice. So if you can let me know how the sound is with a floating heart, that would be great. Okay, fantastic, good. So I am going to do my reading. It's going to be a little different tonight. And the reason I call this Left Hand Lemonade, nothing is going in the order that it was planned, but you're used to that. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and everything got turned upside down. So I was preparing for an album called Left Hand Lemonade. I was and am writing a memoir called Left Hand Lemonade. I don't know the subtitle, but the Cliff Notes is it's about a musician's journey from tragedy to triumph, from my recovery and my resilience, from recovering from 4 surgeries after I fell and broke my right hand and had recovering from 7 fractures. So the plan was to eventually lead this into a multimedia piece, and then everything got turned upside down to everyone when the pandemic happened, and I thought, okay, let's put this on Facebook Live. This is about my 10th. And I've been taking writing classes, and I've been writing this memoir and reading sections of it. This is not for my memoir. This was a little longer, and it's a writing assignment that is a 1,000-word essay that is about my experience with the pandemic and what I've learned from it and what I've learned about myself from it. Now, when you hear it, you'll see it's very relevant to these Facebook Lives, so that's why I wanted to share it with you. I will tell you, though, it is the most vulnerable thing I've ever read. So if anyone can relate right now to going through what we're going through with so many life changes, can anyone, if you are feeling vulnerable at all with so much uncertainty, if you can give me a floating heart, that would be great, or post a comment and say vulnerable. And I'm pretty sure it's a familiar feeling right now. So, okay, good. I'm not alone. And I will tell you, performing as a professional musician, performing on Facebook Live is an incredibly vulnerable feeling. I had a conversation with a colleague of mine a pianist who is so much better than me. I respect him so much. He performs all over the world all the time. And I said, and he was doing house concerts internationally. I said, why don't you put those on Facebook Live? He goes, oh my God, I would never do live, because then the recording is out there forever and you have no control over it. That's how it feels as a pianist. So I'm already being vulnerable by playing music, taking a chance that it's going to be at least suitable to put in live, and here I am. So the same is true of my essay. And this, it's a family history. It leads to feelings I've had during the pandemic that have been very helpful to me and have helped me actually determine why I'm doing these Facebook Lives. So this is called My Bubble. My mother's pregnancy with me was unplanned. Pre-birth, I was unwanted. My parents were struggling financially and already had 3 children under the age of 6. Mom was tired at home taking care of her children, and Dad was working all the time. Her pregnancy was filled with fear, not knowing how she'd manage. While 6 months pregnant with me, her youngest sister, my Aunt Jeannie, got married. My mom was the maid of honor. Wanting to hide the pregnancy as long as possible, she bought a dress in a larger size. It worked. She successfully hid me. Growing up, I made sure to keep myself quiet and hidden. I was 4 years old when my parents took me to a speech therapist because I wasn't speaking yet. On rare occasion, I mumbled something, but they couldn't understand a word. The diagnosis? Late bloomer. From a very young age, I created an imaginary zone of safety around me. My 3 older siblings made fun of me, the baby, for staying in my own little world. When I was 6, I created fictional playtime where I chatted up a storm with my make-believe friends, 2 sisters named Debbie and Sue. They quickly became my best friends, my only friends. I was devastated when they called one night and told me they were moving away the next day, not even leaving time to say goodbye. Years later, I learned the call was from my own real-life sisters, Pam and Gail, pretending to be Debbie and Sue. They were baffled why I wouldn't talk to them while I had plenty to share with my pretend friends. I forgot about Debbie and Sue right away when I found a new best friend, a brand new brown spinet piano my papa bought for us, my grandfather. The piano was on one end of the living room in our small house. The television was in the other. One night at age 7, I was practicing the piano, wearing the pink and white flowery dress my mom made me, and my pink fluffy slippers. Steve, Pam, and Gail were mad because I was practicing piano when they wanted to watch TV. I barely noticed. I put myself in my bubble and ignored them, drowning out the obnoxious television noise with the glorious sounds my fingers made on the piano keys. Before finishing my practice session, I played Alley Cat one more time to dilute Gomer Pyle. In grade school and then in high school, my protection zone was at home, sitting on the piano bench. I was too shy at school to speak, and I couldn't wait to get home from school and safely tuck myself in my music circle. Doodle, our blonde Cocker Spaniel, always joined me, snoozing by my pedal foot. In high school, the popular kids made fun of me for being shy and weird for my obsession with classical music. I forfeited Friday night high school football games to hear the Syracuse Symphony with my mom, who always nurtured my music talents and sacrificed to support my music education. Everything changed when I went to Juilliard. Finally, I was surrounded by other musicians. It felt safe and exhilarating, letting my little world expand. I didn't have any problem using my voice when I spoke about opuses, concerti, Kershaw numbers, and fugues. For the first time, I could join conversations and feel safe, no longer needing to hide. When I was 28, my sister Gail made a toast at my wedding. Lisa has finally joined real life, it began. In her usual outspoken, humorous way, she continued while the guests laughed. I didn't hear anything else. I was too focused on hiding my tears. Ironically, those words represented a deep yet lonely hope of mine. I didn't get married because I was in love. I wanted to resemble other people in their late 20s. I thought when I got married I could jump out of my old life and arrive unscathed in a world of normalcy, where nobody made fun of me anymore for my passion as a musician. If I could be a wife, own a home in the suburbs, and go on vacations, maybe I could blend in with the neighbors. It's not surprising the marriage didn't endure. Slowly, I learned to speak up for myself. It took all the courage I could muster, but I managed to tell Gail how painful her wedding toast had been. She was shocked and profusely apologetic and understanding. It helped me learn that speaking with my words from my heart offered healing in ways more powerful than even the most beautiful music. For the next 25 years, on my own, I learned all sorts of ways to take one step, then two, then more outside of my comfort zone. Solo travels to Europe and China in my early 30s. Interviews on national and international media outlets in my 40s. Performing concerts with one hand in my 50s. Then early 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic hit. About 2 weeks into the shelter-in-place ordinance, I realized how content I was in quarantine, taking my 10-year-old black lab Gina and my Steinway concert grand piano with me into retreat. I felt safer and more protected than I had in years. The outside world was feeling upside down, yet at long last I felt right side up. I had every acceptable societal excuse to stay tucked in my own world. I was even saving lives and being a hero for being a recluse. With this clarity, I started performing weekly Facebook Live concerts. While it appeared I was alone in the room with my dog and Steinway Concert Grand, I was playing for music lovers around the globe every week. My music and stories of resilience lifted their spirits. Life was honoring me for having the courage to show up. What a fabulous reward. From the age of 7, I believed if I had my piano and my dog, I would be fine. The pandemic proved that to be true. We're safely tucked away in our own bubble, and yet I feel more connected than ever. So I thank you for being a part of that journey. And some of that is going to reveal itself more in my memoir about, people who know me now and who didn't know me when I was younger can't even believe I was so shy, because I'm far from shy and bashful now, but up until I was 30, I was so quiet. Thank you for the hearts. I really appreciate it. Whew, I'm going to take a big, deep breath now. Okay, thank you. Okay. How you doing, Gina? Gina is here. You think she's snoozing when she's not. She's actually laying here with her eyes open. She's not snoozing. When she's snoozing, she's snoring. But she's been enjoying it. Again, if you have a pet at home, post their name, post a little bit about them, their age, cat, dog, guinea pig, whatever, rabbit, whatever it is. That would be great. And looking at my program. Okay, so the next transcriptions are lighter. Everything's going to be lighter from now on. Just gonna give a quick look. Great. Okay, and also share your, other people are starting to share. I share that because I'm not alone in that feeling. We all have our old childhood issues where this life is about working through them. So, feel free to share whatever you want around that issue. And I will tell you, my mom, Trudy Spector, is listening. She has been my biggest fan all my life. And during these Facebook Lives, she's there every time listening from her senior residence in Syracuse, New York. And Mom, I love you, and I couldn't be more grateful that you recognized my music talent early on. We had a lovely talk about it this morning, and she sacrificed so much so that I could explore my music talents. And I know she's very proud of me, and I'm also very proud of her as well. So thank you, Mom. I love you. And okay, so in my fantasy life, I'm a diva opera singer. I love opera. This is often my opera gown, and it's hard to say many of my favorite operas are Puccini operas, but I love this aria from Samson and Delilah. by French composer Saint-Saëns. And Mon cœur s'ouvre avec toi is, my heart. The translation is, it's not my heart will go on. It's, give me 1 second, please. My heart is open, and my heart, there are a couple different translations, but my heart at thy sweet voice. In the program I forget, I did not have the arranger of this, and I'm not 100% positive, but I think this is all, I will look this up, but I have not been able to find the arranger of this and one of the other arrangements. So I will add this if I can find it later on. So this is so beautiful. I can't do this justice. I don't sing except in the shower, and I can't do this justice. But I still, as a pianist, this melody is so beautiful. If you know it, I think some of you know it, are giving me floating hearts right now. I've seen heard San Francisco Opera perform this about 3 times. It's so gorgeous. So this is the biblical story of Samson and Delilah that you probably know. And basically, the cliff notes is that this is the end of Act 2. So this is where Delilah's singing this to Samson. Samson is trying to understand, does she really love him? He is so in love with her. And she doesn't love him, but she does this really good imposter syndrome, pretending to love him, and sings this song so that she can get the keys to his power, which is in his hair. He's got this gorgeous long hair, and after the scene is when she cuts off his hair and then has the power, and everything escalates, and then he finds out that she never did love him. It was all a trick. But this scene is so heart-wrenching beautiful, and so I'm going to attempt to make it gorgeous on the piano, and you'll hear at the very end. So it's Delilah singing it to Samson, but at the very end, you'll hear this little voice where this is like one of my favorite parts, so soft and so subtle, where Samson sings to her, Je t'aime, I love you, and you'll hear it in my thumb. You'll hear it. It's very subtle towards the very end. So enjoy this transcription of Mon cœur s'ouvre à ta voix, my heart at thy sweet voice. Thank you. I can't wait until we can hear opera again. I love going to San Francisco Opera of the Hearts. Ah, such a gorgeous melody. I just could listen to that forever. Thank you to my friend Erica for, oh my God, over 20, probably 25 years ago, really helping me just fall in love with opera. She's a wonderful singer. And she's often on here too. And then moving on to one of my favorite orchestral pieces, and this is a piece I've probably heard San Francisco Symphony also do about 3 times, and every time I just can barely breathe afterwards. It's so gorgeous. It's the Elgar Enigma Variations. Give me a heart if you know any of the movements or you know the Enigma Variations. It's you've probably heard it even if you don't think you know it. It's so beautiful. Completely different side of Elgar than the Pomp and Circumstance, which we're not hearing very much of these days. And this is one of the variations that is called Nimrod. It's so beautiful. And again, it's like I can't do it justice. It's better with orchestra, but I'm here playing piano, and I think it's a beautiful arrangement by an unknown arranger. Again, I don't know. But enjoy these few minutes of Elgar's Nimrod from the Enigma Variations. Thank you. So you might recognize that. Thanks for the hearts. You might recognize that. I'm going to move on to, these are now piano transcriptions. So in other words, they're pieces, actually that's not true of the Gershwin. The first one, the Chopin, is a piece, or thank you for the hearts, a piece written by Chopin and then transcribed 60 years later. So Chopin was born in 1810. Another Polish composer, Godowsky, was born 60 years later. And Godowsky took the 24 Chopin etudes and transcribed them, 51 arrangements, 51 of the hardest pieces, some of the hardest short pieces ever written for piano. And this is the arrangement of the Aeolian harp. So Chopin wrote it designed to sound like a harp where the melody is in the outer fingers, which are my challenged fingers. Godofsky wrote it where the melody is all in the thumb of the left hand and broken chords underneath. So the Godofsky arrangement of the Aeolian harp etude by Chopin, probably the hardest piece I've ever played. The hardest short piece, I'd say. Thank you. So the good news is it's getting a little easier. As I always tell my students, it's only awkward the first 149 times, and I've played that at least 149 times. So it has gotten easier, but it's still very taxing on my left hand. So I'm gonna we're at 7 o'clock, so we're just short, probably 2.5 minute last piece. But I'm gonna do my farewell talking now because I need to give my left hand just a couple minutes more rest before I go on to the Gershwin. And so first of all, thank you so much for being here. I am so appreciative. There's nothing I'd rather be doing than with my time than playing the piano and sharing my talents with you. And I so appreciate you spending your time with me. This way, this is a completely free service, but if you choose, you're more than welcome. Tips are available. I left a PayPal link in the description of the concert, and those are always so appreciated. Thank you. Last week, I had my donations go to CACA, and so many of you donated. I so appreciate the CAPA, the Coalition for African American Performing Artists. I since had a talk with the executive director and looking to see how I can help them. They are they're a phenomenal organization. They're doing so much more than I even thought. I could tell from their website. So once I talked to them, got an idea of what they're doing to help African American performing artists children with music classes. Their tagline is bringing color to the classics. So they help everything from children to senior citizens. They have their performing artists used to go out to senior centers and perform and do so much with their young adults on stage. And I'm looking forward to helping them, and thank you for your support to them as well. So I'm going to close with a piece that I used to play, the original arrangement that was written by my Juilliard professor, my piano teacher, Earl Wild. He rearranged 7 Gershwin songs into virtuoso etudes, virtuoso studies that are very challenging for 2 hands, and this one he originally wrote for left hand only, called The Man I Love, and you'll recognize the melody from that. And he was a terrific arranger and just very creative, and it's all over the keyboard. So if you watch, you're going to see me go really up high to the treble with my left hand and way down low. So that's what I'm going to be closing the program on, and then we'll be back next week with a program. Probably I'm going to do nocturnes. I'll keep you posted on my mailing list at lisaspector.com, and I have all sorts of freebies coming out very soon on that. I know I keep promising. I've just been very busy. So hiring some help this week, and that's going to be in place. So I'm going to close with Gershwin's The Man I Love for left hand only. Thank you. So that's another piece that's only awkward the first 149 times. And I have to admit, I've done Earl Wild's arrangement of this for two hands, and I actually like this arrangement better. They're both awkward and this challenging in the same way, but I actually like this one better. So again, I thank you for being here, and I wish you a safe week and a good week, and I so look forward to sharing more music with you. We are continuing this series. It's not going anywhere. Still looking to get this on YouTube Live simultaneously. Thank you so much for the hearts. I have some loyal fans who are here every week, and I so appreciate you, really, from the bottom of my heart. So be well, be safe, and look forward to sharing Nocturnes with you next week on Left Hand Lemonade Live with Lisa. Thank you.